Dilla create vibes now.
Welcome to another episode of the Get Love Like Mine podcast. We are your humble hosts. I'm Keisha Amos. This is my beautiful husband, Sam Amos. What episode is this? I think this is episode 16. Wow. So we hope you guys enjoyed your Thanksgiving holiday. Christmas is fast approaching. We had a beautiful service at church today and brought up a topic that I think we've kind of been avoiding, but I think it's time to go ahead and dive in. So this episode we're going to be talking about homosexuality. I'm not going to even start with you. I'm not going to even put you on the spot. I'm going to start with me. So I have family members who are gay. My best friend from high school was gay, even though I did not know it when we were in high school, because he was not out yet. He actually came out to me after we were adults, had gone to college and everything. But I don't take issue with being gay. I don't think it's my business. Just like it's not your business what I do in the bedroom, or who I choose to love. Is, I look at it that way. But a lot of people think that as a Christian we condemn it. I personally don't condemn you for being gay, but I do know that it's a sin just like any other sin. Committing adultery, lying, stealing, they're all sins. So I wouldn't condemn anyone for being gay, but I don't shy away from the fact that it's a sin. It just is what it is. So now I'll ask you how you feel about it.
I kind of echo those same sentiments. There was, in the time era that we came up in, it was not as fluent, obviously. It still existed, but it was, kind of kept shaded, from society much more than it is now. I went through a period of time in my life where I was very, very narrow-minded about it. And it was just absolutely the most awful thing. And then as I grew older and matured more in that area, I guess you would say, I started to view, kind of self-reflect myself and view things the way you just said, that, it's really none of my business the way people choose to live their life. My biggest problem with it now is if you're trying to bring it in the church. So, I hear people say all the time, well, God, forgives everybody, or God loves everybody, or, it's the people with the problems that need to come to the church. I don't dispute any of that, but my thing is, I don't like these churches, these big churches that try to make you feel good about whatever it is in life instead of telling you the truth. Now, either we're going to preach from the Bible or we're not. Not pick and choose little bits and pieces here, to suit your lifestyle. I had a pastor, great guy. I don't go to his church anymore, but I hold him way up here as just a human being. He's a great guy. But he always made the statement that, the truth is the truth. Not everybody's going to want to hear the truth, but in today's times, we need to uphold the standard of what the Bible is. Stop trying to bring the Bible down to suit the people. You need to bring the people up to meet where the Bible is. So my thing is, you can live however you choose, It's none of my business. I'm not here to condemn or to judge. I'm not a judge. But just know that in the church, if you're going to go by the Bible, if you're a Christian and you read the Bible, don't believe half the Bible or believe the parts that are suitable to you. I want to believe that, but I'm not going to believe this. Mm-hmm. It's in there. It's in, what is it, Leviticus? No, that was Romans. Yeah, Romans.
Leviticus too.
Yeah, Leviticus and Romans. Romans 1 and around 24 it starts. Mm-hmm. If you don't believe it, it's in there where God talks down on it, condemns homosexuality. But that's my problem. Keep it out of the church. If that's what you choose to do, keep it in its respectful place. It's just like if you're a serial killer or someone that robs all the time. If you have that type of sin in your life, and we're not going to say it's not sin, and then try to not hurt anybody's feelings, it is what it is, right?
Right.
So if you can't stop robbing banks or something, or you jack people, with pistols or whatever, that's not something that you bring into church. It's the same thing to me.
Yeah. Sexual immorality, it's not just homosexuality. It's fornicating, having sex when you're not married, committing adultery. All those things are sins, and we're not, like I said, we're not condemning you. We're not saying that you can't go to church, because you probably do need to go to church.
Right.
But I think when you say bring it to the church, what exactly do you mean?
I mean, don't think you're going to pray to God and live by the principles in the Bible and still keep this lifestyle.
You got to get that up.
Yeah, you can't have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So do you think that, it's a great debate. Some people say it's biological. They were born that way. Some people feel like it's a choice. What do you? Well, let me go first. So I feel like certain aspects of any attraction are biological, or environmental might be a better way to put it. If we have 3 sons, 2 daughters. If our 3 sons are seeing me, a light-skinned black woman with short hair, they may develop a preference for light-skinned women with light eyes or short hair. They might see that. Who they are attracted to, I feel like, is something they cannot control. But like you say, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You look at R. Kelly. R. Kelly is attracted to young girls. That doesn't mean he just gets to go be with young girls. There's some things that you are attracted to, you lust for or long for, that you cannot have. You cannot do that. So I feel like homosexuality is the same way. Yeah, you might be attracted to other men or other women, but you can't act on that. You have to, push that down. I don't think they can control the urge. I mean, I guess you can if you have willpower, but just because you're attracted to it doesn't mean you have every right to just go do it. Mm-hmm. As a married woman, I might see, Idris Elba come in the room and I might be attracted to him, but that don't mean I get to just go be with him. I'm married. I made a vow to my husband and to God. You can't just, let your flesh take over. In other words, you can't just let your flesh take over.
Dictate.
Yeah. So what do you think? You think they're born that way, or it's a choice?
Well, in my lifetime, I don't think I've ever seen an infant or a newborn where I immediately was like, okay, I believe a bit bunny, he's gonna be gay when he grows up. I don't believe in that you can be born that way. Simply because, to me, it's like a choice. It's a lifestyle. That's like saying Michael Jordan was born to be a basketball player. Well, yeah, he excels at it, but he also had to work his butt off to get there.
Right.
You know, he wasn't dribbling the ball between his legs at 6 months old.
Well, you know, so you never seen a little kid, like maybe 3, and you was like,
well, let me say this. I've seen that small kid at 3 mimic what he's seen around him. Now, if he grew up in a house full of women, you know, no men around, no brother, dad abandoned him, and he's seeing mom, his 3 sisters, his aunt, everybody sitting at the table with their leg crossed. I've seen old men sit with their leg crossed, and the first thing I think is they probably grew up seeing that a lot when they were younger, and it's just something that they did what they saw. That's what you do when you're a kid. Especially when it comes to older folks like teens and on up. That even though there's a lot of it in society, like society tries to, they've painted this picture like, hey, everything is fine. We're not going to worry about any type of sin or what the Bible says about it. And that's fine if you're not a Bible person, whatever. But I don't think, when I see folks that might have dated, you know, opposite sex, and then later on in life they end up dating same-sex people, I don't see that as someone that was born that way. I think that's a choice you made.
yeah, I guess I would go to women more so than men, even though it happens with men too. But I've seen women, I know women personally who have been with men and then decided they made the choice to be with women and then went back to be with men. Or I even had a case, a divorce, 2 women, and they were fighting over the child, and I'm like, where did this child come from? And so one of the mom that was my client was like, well, you know, she had a relationship with a man. So it's like, okay, so if you're like me, I'm heterosexual. I've never had an experience where I was with a woman or even wanted to be with a woman. So the fact that you were with men and then you decided you wanted to be with a woman and then you decided you wanted to, you know, have this baby and then be back with another woman, to me, those are choices. That's not just, or better yet, that's you not being able to control your flesh. Like you are just letting your flesh dictate whatever it is. Yeah, you just wherever I land is that's what I'm picking this week.
Wow, that's tough.
Yeah. So you mentioned in the Bible in Romans, there are, you know, a few places in the Bible where it talks about homosexuality and how God sees it, and I think one of the verses, I can't remember where it is now, but I know they refer to it as a despicable act.
Wow.
So you know, it, like I said, I'm not trying to condemn them, because like in that same scripture, it talked about committing adultery. It talked about murdering your parents. It talked about murders of any kind. Like, a sin is a sin. I think the biggest thing for me is that I see people, like you said, in the church, like you might see the choir director or the organ player, or maybe even the pastor. I don't know. I haven't seen a homosexual pastor, but you're in the church and you're proclaiming your homosexuality, like you're proud of it, as if it's not a sin. It's kind of like if the pastor is married to the first lady, but then his side chick comes in, y'all gonna have a problem with him flaunting his side chick. You're gonna see that as wrong. So if you see that as wrong, you have to also see this other person flaunting their sin is wrong.
I think that really at the bottom line, like, yeah, no one here is really qualified to judge anyone.
Right.
Like the Bible says. I mean, if we're gonna go by the Bible said, then the Bible says. The Bible says we've all sinned. Okay.
Yeah, we have.
So let's get that out of the way. I don't want to even sit here in front of this camera and act like you and I haven't sinned.
Right.
But the thing is, people come to church, and sometimes I feel bad for the ones that, in my opinion, they seem confused. Like, I'm doing these other things, but I'm not gonna miss church on Sunday, and I guess they're hoping somewhere down the line that it'll all come to a head. I can figure it out, or I've even seen where a pastor delivers a sermon so powerful that that person who's been fighting with these demons on the inside of them just breaks down and can't stop crying. Like, I know it's wrong. I wish I could stop. I don't have the self-control to stop. I'm struggling with controlling my flesh in this area. But I was brought up to believe, and I simply cannot turn my back on God.
Right.
Because I'm doing my own thing. So I know it may not be right, and the world is saying, hey man, hey, it's okay, just do what you do.
Be proud.
Right, be proud, and then
live your truth.
Before you know it, you're straddling the fence, and the fence is jagged. The fence has got barbed wires around it. So that fence is cutting you up.
Yeah, it is.
Like, you want to come down, but I can't figure out what side I want to land on. So I'm going to just stay up here and let this fence wear me out. Well, I mean, we're discussing this now, not to judge anybody, but you need to figure it out, and this is the only way you're going to live your best life. You can't straddle the fence forever. I'm telling you now, the fence will beat you up.
Yeah.
Fence got them gloves on, man. So we can only pray for you and hope that, you know, if you're a believer, you believe in the Bible. Like I say, one of my biggest problems with these churches or some of these well-known pastors or whatever is, once these churches fill up, they're pressed with the duty of trying not to hurt anyone's feelings in this congregation. That's not church. We didn't come up like that. Like, if you're doing wrong, and your wrong is in this Bible that you brought to church, not one that I wrote out myself. Everyone has a Bible. If you pack one around, it's going to be similar to the one sitting next to you.
It might be a different version.
Might be a different version, right? Some of them you're going to understand better, right? That's where the different versions come in at. But you know, these pastors get here and you have these feel-good services, and they've even gone so far as to call some of these pastors motivational speakers now. You don't really refer to them, well, you're the pastor of the church, but you're more of a motivational speaker than you are a pastor, because you want to make an obstacle course out of the scriptures. You know, I better not talk about that one, because, you know, I know some that really donate to the church,
right,
and they may leave with their checkbook. That's pitiful, but it's the society we live in. It happens. So, you know, if you're wrestling with self-control, flesh that's wearing you out, riding the fence, hey, you're gonna have to do what you have to do for your own self, your own soul. I can't tell you what to do. I'm not gonna judge you. I can't say, hey, I would love for you to get off the fence. I really would. I mean, but the fence is not tearing me up in that aspect.
Well, I'm gonna ask you this.
Okay.
Like I said, we have 3 boys and 2 girls. What if one of the kids comes to you and says, Dad, I think I'm gay.
I think I'm gay.
Or, Dad,
I've been gay for a while.
I've been gay for a while. I didn't know how to tell you, but I'm telling you now. Because I'm ready to give my truth.
Well, I can only deliver to you what I've seen in the Bible, because that's what I try to use as a guideline for my life. Mm-hmm. May not always hit it right on the head, but then get back up and try again. I can remember a time in my younger years where I would have totally condemned it and turned my back on that kid. And I realized that that would probably be the wrong thing to do.
Right.
So I can only share truth with that kid. And the biggest thing from all that is I'm going to go and pray for that kid.
Mm-hmm.
Because
you was going to do that anyway.
Yeah, I'm going to do that anyway. But I think that's the single most powerful thing I can do for that kid at that time. Like, I don't know what demons you're wrestling with, especially by the way we were brought up, and I'm sure it doesn't take much for society to steer you in a different direction, and some folks just want to experiment and see what is all the hype about. So, yeah, I couldn't turn my back on that kid, but I would definitely try to stay in close contact with them to see how they're doing, to make sure they're all right, and really to see where their head is. But my biggest thing is all I can do is pray for. I can't walk your shoes for you.
Right.
As much as I would want to, even when it comes to jobs, because when you get our age, you've seen so much, mm-hmm. and you wish those kids could take your eyes and go and live a better life. You don't have to struggle with all the struggles I had. Let me help you, but sometimes it's hard to hear when you're coming up and, I'm grown and I make my own choices.
We try to shield them, like they don't see the danger that's around the corner, but we do. So we try to shield them and say, if you only knew, if you would only listen.
It's a struggle on the inside, and a lot of times we'll find ourselves not saying anything to them, mm-hmm. because we've said so much. Times are so much different from when we grew up. We look at this tragedy at this Astroworld concert, mm-hmm. and we saw groups of people running at times. We would go to football games and a fight would break out and the whole crowd would shift one way, and people would get trampled, but not to the point of you get home and 8, 9 people died, and there's $700 and some million worth of lawsuits in the first week.
Mm-hmm. Somebody filed $1 billion.
Right, and for emotional distress, like, wow, the world is so different, but this is the world. And so who are we? We're sitting here trying to tell these kids, like we sound old, we look old. You don't want to go to that.
Yeah.
And this he's from here. He's the most popular. I mean, I heard someone say, one of my coworkers say, I don't know, no, my son said this. One of my sons said, he has the most violent followers. They're so, I don't want to use the word angry. I don't know what word he used to describe Travis Scott's followers, but he said they're like sitting on the edge of their seat all the time. So seeing this happen in my 20-year-old's eyes, the writing was on the wall all the time. Mm-hmm. And now everyone, you want to blame security, you want to blame who sold the tickets. If you didn't put a disclaimer at the bottom, hey, you may get trampled when you come here. We don't have enough security, there's not enough space. Boy, it's just the biggest mess where here we are as parents would say, hey, just don't go.
Right.
They don't want to hear that.
They don't want to hear that.
Like, this is a huge event. We want to be there. And our kids went to one of his lesser violent events. I'm not going to say violent. It just sounds like a bad thing. But they went to the softball game in that same weekend, the day before all that happened, and I guess it was calm and peaceful, and there wasn't as many people there. But
my brother was actually there, but he's old enough to know I don't need to get to the front. I'm gonna stay back here where I can just observe everything and move around. But
those kids are pushing. I want to get to the front. I'm pushing to the front.
That's not
man.
But back to what I asked about the kids. So, my answer is similar to yours. I would definitely pray for that kid. I would definitely make sure that kid knows the danger that they're putting themselves in by making that choice to, follow their flesh. I just want to bring this up. I don't have an issue. I know a lot of people say representation matters. So, I get that. But, I remember years ago when Empire first came out. It was Taraji P. Henson. What's the guy's name? I can't think of his name right now. Terrence Howard. I just knew this was going to be a great show. The very first episode is primetime Fox. I'm thinking, it's not going to be any cursing. It's on primetime TV. And very first episode, the son, Andre, gets pushed up against the wall and the guy goes down on primetime TV, regular TV, not cable. And I got my son sitting here with me. Y'all could have warned me that this was not a show that my son could watch. And I know, gay people feel like, well, we need to be represented. Don't get me wrong. I feel like you can be represented without showing the act. And the reason I say that is because I don't like seeing heterosexual people kissing and having sex on regular TV. I feel like if I can let if my child can flip on that channel on their own, they don't need to see nothing sexual at all. Heterosexual, homosexual, none of it. If you can't make your show without that, then you need to put that on a real cable channel where, somebody got to pay for that. Somebody got to go search that up, as my son says. I searched it up. You need to go have to go search that up. I don't think that type of representation needs to be on regular TV. And I don't want to sound like Lil Boosie with this Lil Nas X stuff. Because Lil Boosie he goes too far with it sometimes. But I get what he's saying about watching regular TV with your kid. And then Lil Nas X was on whatever award show and he tongue kissing two men on the stage. I didn't want to see that. I don't want my kids to see that. So somebody brought up that Madonna and Britney Spears did it. I didn't want to see that either.
And in the same token, even if it was Jay-Z and Beyonce,
I don't want to see that either.
Ain't got no business tongue kissing on TV.
Yes.
Come on, man. Come on.
It's kids watching. Right. And I know y'all say, we're not. Look, Lil Nas X literally said, F your kids. He said that on the Breakfast Club. I'm not your role model for your kids, but he literally said F your kids. Now, okay, you grown. This is what you want to do. You don't want to be nobody's role model. You just want to do your sin out loud. Okay, that's fine. But I don't want, like you said, I don't want to see Jay-Z and Beyonce doing it. I don't want to see that type of image is not for regular TV for the kids to be able to just see whenever they want to see. I get representation. You can be on the show or, do whatever. We all know he's gay. He's announced that he's gay. And seeing him on the show, fine. But we don't have to see the act of it. Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that influence that it has on the kids. I don't like having to explain to my 7-year-old what he's doing. And you can't tell me my 7-year-old is not supposed to be able to watch this award show. Like, I could see if this was late night TV or, something like a prime time, not a prime time, but a premium cable channel that I paid for. Yeah, I know I might need to put the parental controls on, but I don't think there's no parental controls for ABC and CBS, and I don't think that type of stuff should be on there. But not just homosexual, heterosexual either. I don't think any of it
is necessary.
Right.
Yeah, it's totally unnecessary.
But, like Lil Boosie, they claim they canceling him. They claim they canceling Dave Chappelle for his views about transgender. I don't even think his issue is with homosexual people. I think a lot of his jokes were transgender jokes. Comedians, in my opinion, they get to talk about whatever. That's the nature of their business. But they are trying to cancel him. And my issue with cancel culture when it comes to them is that if you say anything, and I mean anything, about homosexual people, they are ready to cancel you. But in the meantime, the homosexual people, they get to be racist. They get to do whatever, but it's almost like they get to have this pass just because they're gay. And I don't understand why we're not allowed to talk about them. Like I've seen where they say that their plight, their fight for equality is akin to black people's fight for equality. And if that's true, if your fight is the same as our fight, then why can't we say anything about it? Because we still talking about black people.
So in other words, you're implying that this community is a race. They consider themselves a race, and I don't know how society got us all the way there. Now we're a race. We got voter rights. We got all these other good things that races get. Only we just attach it to this lifestyle when no one's looking.
I think my thing is just the cancel culture of it. If we can't talk about them, and I'm not even saying in a negative way, I'm saying, just like I said, we were sitting here talking about our kids. I wouldn't have an issue if my kids were to come to me and tell me they're gay. I would let them know, God sees this as a sin. And if this is what you choose, and I still love you as my child, but I'm not going to just be like, yay, my child is gay. It's not a happy moment for me. But cancel culture, when it comes to homosexuality, will look at that and say, oh, she not happy her child gay? Let's cancel her. No, that's just foolish to think that you can cancel somebody for their own opinion. Anyway, I think that's all we got. We did have an Ask the Amoses. My husband doesn't want to talk about it, but I'm going to talk about it anyway.
Alrighty.
Let me go to it. So in the meantime, while I'm looking for it, if you guys would like your questions answered on the show, you have questions about friendship, relationship, parenting, any of those things, your walk with God, be sure to send us an email at getalovelikeminepodcast@gmail.com, and we put in the subject line Ask the Amoses, and we will answer your question. So the question is, how do you explain to your partner the reason why you teach your kids the proper terms for their private parts, like vagina and penis, in today's world? So my answer to that is, because my husband doesn't want to talk about this. When I used to work for Children's Protective Services, during the training, there was this thing. This is why it's important to teach your kids the proper terms for their private parts. it was a little girl who went to her teacher and told her, my mom's boyfriend keeps putting his mouth on my cookies. And the teacher, didn't exactly understand why the little girl kept telling her that. But the little girl told her more than once, and the teacher didn't report it. The teacher didn't know that her cookies were her private part and that mom's boyfriend was violating her. So because the teacher didn't report it, the little girl, something worse happened. And then when it came out and somebody finally talked to her and she explained that what her cookies was, then the teacher felt bad, of course. But it's important for you guys to tell your children the real word for it, so that in case something happens to them, they can say what really happened. Mom's boyfriend was molesting me or putting his mouth on my vagina. I know it's graphic, but that's the only way you're going to, especially with little kids, that's the only way you're going to know that somebody did something wrong to them. And just to bring that back to this topic, you told me once before about a friend of yours who did like some sort of survey in prison. And what I'm getting at is a lot of times, and I'm not saying this is the only way, but a lot of times kids end up being homosexual after experiences of molestation by same-sex perpetrators. And like we talked about this once before, that sometimes when you're molested, it feels good. It's not a bad thing. So if a man molests a little boy and it feels good to him, yeah, he might grow up and think, oh, I was born this way, but you weren't. It was your environment. It was something that you experienced way earlier than you should have that has you convinced that this is, pleasurable. But what that survey that you were telling me about?
This guy, he was incarcerated, and he ended up getting out actually because he was wrongly accused. But that's another story. But while he was there, he wrote a book, and his book was like a documentary. He was in, of course, with his all men, and he went to as many of his cellmates as he could that they would allow him to, and he just sat down with them and asked them what their story was and how they got in here. And what he found out was there were a lot of men in there that were either gay or had been involved in male prostitution that had been molested as a kid. And then some of the stories were so rigid. He would say these guys thought all men were doing this. They thought this was normal. Yeah, they did. And they began prostituting and selling their body to other men. And of course, there was a market for it. Men were out there spending money on them.
Those Bible scriptures that I mentioned, they talked about male prostitution, not females, male prostitution. So it's been around for a while, but
to think everyone's doing this is normal.
And that's when kids get molested, that's how they think that this is the way it's supposed to go. But anyway, it's important to tell your kids the proper name for their private parts, so that if something were to happen to them, they can explain who did what to what without saying my cookies.
Who did what to what?
Yeah. But anyway, thank you guys for listening. If you're not already following us on social media and you don't think we should be canceled because of this episode, be sure to give us a follow on Facebook and Instagram. We're Get a Love Like Mine Podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube or if you're listening to it anywhere, make sure you subscribe so you can get all our content.
Show your shirt. Read all the way across.
But anyway, you guys have a good week.